Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to today's Postgrad Webinar service. Today we're joined by the University of Birmingham, an introduction to LLM at Birmingham Law School, set to be a highly popular topic today, not given just our website llmstudy.com, but extremely popular on postgrad.com also. Joined today by Professor of Global Legal Education Paul McConnell. He's also joined by a colleague Janvi Singh also. They'll be taking you through the next 45 minutes. I'll be back towards the end. Reminder, today's session is live. Today's date is the 17th of March. Geez, where's 2026 going? If you are watching this in the summer months or you're watching this later on in the year, please factor that in. Some of the scholarships, funding, all these little nitty gritties when it comes to the details of dates might change ever so slightly. But in the main, most will remain roughly the same. Paul, over to you. I'll be back for the Q&A at the end.
Thank you very much, Gareth, and hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in today to hear more about the LLM Masters of Law programme at University of Birmingham Law School. As Gareth kindly explained, I'm Paul McConnell. I'm one of the professors in the law school who teaches on the LLM programme. And in my role as Professor of Global Legal Education, I work really closely with international students all over the world who might be considering coming to Birmingham for their LLM. And I'm delighted to be here leading this session. I hope it's going to be really useful for you. I'm pleased to say I'm joined by one of our current LLM students, Janvi, who's going to give the student perspective as we work through the webinar information. So first of all, Janvi, would you be able to briefly introduce yourself?
Thank you, Paul, and hi everyone. It's really nice to see you all here. My name is Janvi Singh, and I'm currently pursuing an LLM in International Business Law here at University of Birmingham. And before this, I completed my 5-year integrated law program, which was BCom LLB Honors from India, which combined both of bit of a commerce and law. And that's where I naturally developed my interest towards international business law. And the LLM here has specifically helped me to do that. I've been keen on deepening my understanding on business regulation and international legal frameworks. So I'm really happy to be here and share a bit of my journey with you all. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Janvi, and delighted that you're here. And I'm sure you're going to give some very useful perspectives to all of the students watching who might be thinking about studying a LLM in the UK at Birmingham. Now, in terms of our plan for the webinar, we've got lots of key information to give you. We'll tell you a little bit about the university, the city of Birmingham. We'll talk about the LLM programme, and then go through some of the practicalities such as applying, fees, scholarships, which are always useful to know about. And then there'll be plenty of opportunity for your questions as well. I would say we'll aim to talk for about 30 to 40 minutes through the key information, and then we'll leave the last section of the webinar for answering all of your questions. In total, the whole session should last no more than an hour. So let me start off with an introduction to University of Birmingham, which is the university hosting today's session. I thought a good place to begin would be with this photograph, which shows our campus where I'm actually sat in my office now. The University of Birmingham campus is a particularly famous campus in the UK. We're one of the largest universities with over 40,000 students studying with us. And our campus is located in Birmingham, the second biggest city in the UK, and we're situated about 2 miles from the city centre district in a really nice, safe, calm campus location, but equally with a lot going on the campus, as we've got our 40,000 students studying with us. The law school itself is right in the heart of the campus. If you can see the large clock tower, the law school is the long red brick building located just behind it, so very much in a central location. And just to say a little more around the clock tower, which is one of the famous symbols of the University of Birmingham, it's visible from all over the city, and it's actually the tallest freestanding clock tower in the world. There are taller clock towers, but they're all attached to buildings. This clock tower at 100 metres is the tallest freestanding clock tower in the world, and a symbol of the university that we're very, very proud of. Now, you can find lots of information about the university online, But I'll just focus on three features of the university that I know are very distinctive, that make it different from some other universities, and which are often important in motivating students to choose to come and study at the university. The first key point I want to emphasise is our reputation and ranking. It can be quite hard to choose a UK university when you're looking at universities from outside the UK, but Birmingham is certainly one of the UK's top law schools, and its degrees are well recognised in the UK and internationally. To look at a couple of ranking features, we're consistently amongst the top 100 universities in the world on all of the main university rankings. That's the QS rankings, Time Magazine rankings, Time Higher Education rankings. So you can be sure that Birmingham is very much an elite top international law school. It's also what's called a Russell Group university. Some of you may know that term, but the Russell Group is the group of 24 elite British universities, similar to the Ivy League in the United States. And certainly for British students, if they have the grades to enter a Russell Group university, typically they would look to get a place at a Russell Group institution. The list of Russell Group universities includes not only Birmingham, but also well-known universities like Oxford and Cambridge as founder members. So that's the first point, the ranking and reputation of the university that I think is distinctive from many others, which would not be Russell Group and not be top 100. A second key feature of the university is our international focus. We attract staff and students from all over the world, and that means that we approach our LLM program in a very international context. On the LLM, actually, more than half of the students are from outside the UK, from a really wide range of countries, and equally more than half our staff are from an international background. We're therefore teaching law not just from the English law perspective, but encompassing many different global viewpoints, preparing you truly for a global career. Thirdly, a key aspect that I'd like to emphasise is our strong focus on careers and employability. It's not just about getting your LLM qualification, it's also about helping you into successful careers once you graduate from Birmingham. And Birmingham is consistently ranked amongst the top universities for our graduate employability. This year we're number 2 in the UK in the High Flyers survey, which is the main measure that would be used of a university's reputation with employers. So lots of key attractions there, the ranking and reputation, the international focus, and also our concentration on careers and employability for our students. But Janvi, if I can just come to you for our first question. You obviously made a decision to join Birmingham as an LLM student around a year or so ago. Could you tell us what led you to select Birmingham of all the universities that you were looking at?
Yeah. Well, I chose University of Birmingham because it offered a really strong balance between both intellectual depth and practical exposure, which was important to me. And coming from a combined commerce and law background, I was looking for a university that treats my pathway international business law as more than just a doctrine. And Birmingham Law School has a very research-led and critical approach, which really mattered to me. I was also drawn to how the LLM here helped you to engage with real world legal and regulatory issues, whether it be through competitions or pro bono work or applied modules, the nature of the modules, rather than learning law in isolation. Overall, it felt like a place that supports well rounded legal development, which was exactly what I was looking for at that level. At the same time, the academic supportive environment and the diverse classroom were really important factors for me coming from an international background and being an international student. So from the very beginning, I noticed how inclusive and intentional the university is in supporting the international students and various diverse communities. So through dedicated academic support, student services, and engagement initiatives that university put forward from very early on, I was very grateful to receive that. So that combination of strong academics, diversity, and genuine support that I got really stood out to me in choosing our university.
Thanks very much, Janvi. It's very useful to know what your thinking was, and certainly a lot of the points that you mentioned would be equally considerations for many students in choosing Birmingham as their institution for the LLM. So as a first section of the webinar, then we've spoken a bit about University of Birmingham and what the university generally has to offer to students. Now, having identified a few universities that might be of interest to you for your LLM, the next thing to think about is the city itself, because there's many different locations in the UK where you can study your LLM. And of course, in the case of University of Birmingham, we're situated in Birmingham, the second biggest city. Now, there's lots that I can say about the city of Birmingham, but to give you a brief overview, as I said, it's the second biggest city in the UK. London is the biggest city. Birmingham is the second biggest, with just over 1 million people. And that in itself is quite appealing to students because it means that it's a very international, diverse environment, as you would find in particularly the bigger British cities. It also means as a bigger city, there's a lot to do, lots to keep you busy. There's very good availability of part-time work in the city. There's lots of accommodation available in a way that you might not find in some of the smaller cities. Also, from the law side, there's a very big legal centre and legal community that you can get involved with as a student at University of Birmingham. So you have all of those big city advantages, but because we're not in London, the cost of living is significantly cheaper. Particularly the rental you would pay on a property will be about half the price you would pay in London or some of the southern cities near to London. So you get the big city environment at a more affordable cost. Additionally, the location of Birmingham is quite attractive because we're right in the middle of the country. We have our own international airport, and being in the middle of the country, you can access all the other cities very easily. For example, London is less than an hour and a half away on the train, so equally very accessible from Birmingham. But again, I think I should come over to Janvi on this. Obviously, you moved to Birmingham from India a few months ago to join us for the LLM. Could you tell us a bit about how you find the city as someone who's not from the UK?
Yes, sure. As rightly said by you, it has a big city advantage with affordable cost, and that was one of the primary factors for me as well. The other reason is that the Birmingham is such a diverse and multicultural city. So I found it that you are constantly around people from very different backgrounds, which makes it easier to feel at home being an international student. Culturally, I found Birmingham very welcoming and student friendly. There's a strong sense of international community. There is plenty of familiar food and cultural spaces and even student activities. So you don't feel disconnected while adjusting to a new environment. At the same time, living here has helped me become independent and confident, both personally and professionally. Overall, I feel Birmingham feels like a city where international students, especially, can settle in comfortably while still experiencing life in the UK in a very balanced way. Yeah.
Thanks, Janvi. That's very helpful, and I think it gives everyone something to think about in the case of choosing not just a university but a city where students will be spending 1 year studying their LLM program as well. So we've spoken about the city and the university. Now let's look in a little more detail at the LLM programs that are actually available at Birmingham. You'll find that all different British universities offer different LLM Master of Law programs with different specializations. I think at Birmingham we have a particularly good range, and you can see the range of programs there on the slide. The LLM General is the I suppose general keeping options open LLM for students that don't want to specialize too much, whereas all of our other programs are quite specialized. I can tell you the most popular one is LLM International Commercial Law, but all of our LLM programs attract a good range of students to them. Now, if I explain in a little more detail how each LLM program is structured, you will find on our website full information about each of those LLM programs. So, for example, if you're interested in LLM human rights, if you just have a look on our website, you'll see the full breakdown of what that looks like. But to give some general information as to what you could expect, all of the LLM programs at Birmingham are 1 year programs that would be running from September through to September. So 1 calendar year. They're taught on a semesterized basis. So I can tell you that in your first semester, you study compulsory modules or subjects. Those are designed to give you the foundation for the LLM. So everyone studies a module called Introduction to Legal Research, which is providing your foundations for higher level master's study in the UK. Bearing in mind we have students joining us from all over the world, that Introduction to Legal Research module really gives you the groundwork for the rest of the LLM. You then study one further compulsory module, depending on what your pathway is. So you can see, for example, on the far side of the screen, a breakdown of what LLM law, data and technology covers. And there, in addition to Introduction to Legal Research, the compulsory module for semester 1 is the module around the regulation of IT and intellectual property law. Then, once you've done your compulsory modules in your first semester, which is September through to January, you go into your second semester, which is January through to May. And there's a whole range of different optional modules available. You can see the full list on our website, but you can see there some examples of the optional modules that you could study. There will be some specified as modules that you should consider under your particular LLM program, but all students have a wide range of optional modules available to them. For example, you can see that some are very focused around business law issues, others around international law, others around human rights or tech. So whatever you're interested in, there's a good range of optional modules available for you. Now, Janvi, if I can just come in and ask you a question at this point. You're obviously now progressing quite well through your LLM. You're in semester 2. Could you tell us maybe about 1 or 2 modules that you've really enjoyed studying during your own LLM program?
Sure. Um, uh, LLM here has a very flexible structure, which is why I was also able to choose a bit of optional modules, which in turn became one of my favorite modules, which is AI law case studies, mainly because it was very real and forward-looking. That is one of the modules that I studied in semester 1. What I really enjoyed is that it focused on actual legal issues arising from AI and emerging technologies rather than just the abstract theory of the law. The learning of that module was particularly case-based rather than lecture-heavy. So we were constantly encouraged to think critically, debate different perspectives, and question that whether the existing legal frameworks are actually fit for the purpose or should the policy change making apply. And there wasn't a right answer always in the class, which really pushed us to develop our own independent legal reasoning, which is a very important skill in legal professional journey. I also found this particular module especially valuable because it connected the technology with business and international law. And it also teaches us that how AI is now increasingly shaping the commercial decision making and regulations and risk. So overall, this particular module has been a great example of how LLM helps you to engage with future facing legal challenges in a very practical and analytical way.
Thanks, Janvi. Really useful to know about some of the material that you've enjoyed studying during your LLM and why that was the case. So just coming back to the program itself and what it covers, just bear with me. There we go. So we've said you've got semester 1, the compulsory courses, semester 2, the options, and then over the summer, so this is June, July, and August, you write your dissertation, which is a 15,000 word independent research project on an area linked to your LLM specialization. You have a lot of flexibility about what you choose to write about, and you are allocated a supervisor who's a specialist in the subject who will support you and help keep your work on track as you run through the dissertation preparation. But dissertation is very much a key element of any UK LLM. You've always got that mix of compulsory and optional modules, and then the dissertation to complete as well. So, John, if I can just come back to you to ask you, you're heading towards the time where you're going to be starting your dissertation in a couple of months. Have you already decided what you're going to be writing about?
Yes, I have decided and I have submitted my dissertation preference form, and I would be soon be allocated with a supervisor, and I'm really excited for the dissertation journey to begin. I'm particularly interested in how AI is challenging traditional trade secret protection in an international business context. And for example, trade secrets rely on confidentiality and controlled access, but with AI systems, especially those trained on large data sets, it becomes very difficult to clearly define ownership, misuse, and protection of proprietary information. So I'm going to go for the research on that particular context. Yeah.
Thank you. Sounds very interesting and definitely something that will keep you busy over the summer period. So just to conclude then, in terms of what you study, as I said, the detail of all the different LLM programs is on our website, so do have a look at that. But you can see broadly it breaks down into that mix of compulsory and optional subjects and the dissertation to finish off your LLM within the course of the year. Finally, just to mention in terms of LLM availability, all of the programs that I've shown you so far are based on our UK campus, but we do also offer an online LLM in environmental and energy law, where you can study that from anywhere in the world. So you may want to have a look at that, and you can scan the QR code on screen if you want to find out more details about that particular LLM program. It's obviously a key decision to make, though, deciding which of those LLM programs you want. When you're looking at British universities, you'll see that there's lots of different LLM programs available, and it's important to try and find the one that best suits your individual interests. Now, at this point, I'll just answer a question that's come in within the chat, which links to entry requirements. For the LLM programs at Birmingham, you would need to have studied an undergraduate law program previously in order to be eligible. So, linking to the question that was asked, someone who hasn't done a undergraduate law program previously. Instead, if you wanted to study law, you could go for our graduate law degree. That's a 2-year law program, which is a recognised law degree in many countries. And I can see the student that asked that question is from Ghana. We have a number of students from Ghana every year join us on that 2-year LLB program. If you want to find out more information about that, do have a look. Just Google search LLB for Graduates Birmingham, and that will bring up the program. But certainly for the LLM programs, you would need to have an undergraduate law degree in order to access these, first of all. So we've covered the different LLM programs and what you study. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about how you study and what the teaching and learning looks like at Birmingham. So I've already said that you have this mix of compulsory and optional courses. And in terms of an average week, similarly to other LM programs in the UK, I would say on average you're looking at about 8 hours of classes per week. That might not sound like that much compared to what you might be used to on your undergraduate law programs in some countries, but it's very much standard for a LLM in the UK, where the focus is on intense classroom teaching, but then also making sure you've got time for private study and independent research outside of your classes. Now, the classes that you have fall into 2 types, seminars and lectures. Lectures are the bigger classes, which are more tutor-led. So you'll be going along to those generally to get an overview of a subject, and you typically don't need to prepare before attending a lecture. On the LLM, most classes, though, are the other kind of class, which is a seminar. These are smaller group classes where you have reading to complete beforehand, you have questions to prepare answers to, and then you come along and for a 2-hour session, you're involved in a very interactive discussion with your peers and your tutor around the reading and the questions. So when you look at your timetable each week, you'll typically have, I'd say, 3 seminars and then a couple of lectures to go through in each week, that mix of small and large group learning. There are, of course, assessments that you need to complete. And at Birmingham, we have quite a range of assessments. I would say the most common type of assessment you would experience is assignments, so essays, where you have typically a few weeks to research and prepare an answer and submit an answer to a question. Some of the optional subjects may also have exams in them, but coursework essays would be the most common type of assessment. To help you with your assessments, which we call the summative assessments, we also have formative assessments, which are practice assessments for which you get full feedback and they don't count towards your final grade. But the feedback that you receive will really help you in making sure you're on track and improving your academic performance to do as well as possible when it comes to the summative assessment. We also have very good online resources to support your learning through a virtual learning environment called Canvas. We are very conscious that all students joining us from outside the UK will need additional support to assist them with transitioning to study at Birmingham on the LLM. So each student is allocated a personal tutor. This would be a dedicated member of staff who is regularly available to you and they'll meet with you regularly to see how you're getting on with your studies. For example, I have 30 students that I'm personal tutor to, and I meet with all of them very regularly to see how they're getting on. Also, those students know that if they're finding any difficulties, they can just contact me and I'll be happy to help. In terms of other key supports, we have something called the Skills Academy, which runs extra sessions and tuition if you need a bit of help with adapting to studying law in the UK. For instance, if you need extra support with English language or writing essays, the Skills Academy is able to help with that. We also have a range of additional supports through what's called CEPLER, which is linked to careers and employability, which I'll talk more about later. Also our International Academy for students needing extra English language support and our careers network. So both academically and in other ways, there's plenty of support available for you at Birmingham. Now, Janvi, if I can come to you with another question, you obviously made the transition from studying an undergraduate program in India to coming to the UK for your postgraduate studies. Could you tell us a bit about that transition and how you found it?
Yes, sure. The transition definitely took some adjustment, mainly because the academic culture is quite different here. The LLM here specifically places a lot of emphasis on independent thinking, critical analysis, and participation, which can feel challenging at first if you are coming from a very different system where there are traditional exams. What helped me adapt academically was engaging actively in seminars and asking questions early on and using the feedback to improve my writing and arguments over time. And what really helped me with the transition was the level of support available, as you mentioned, both academically and in terms of well being, I would say. There are dedicated teams and personalized support sessions. So, if you need help, whether it's academic guidance or settling in, you're not left to figure things out alone. So, overall, the transition has been a very positive learning experience and has helped me grow both academically and personally.
Great to hear. Thanks, Janvi. So we've spoken so far about teaching and learning, what you study, how you study, and that's obviously a key consideration when you're looking at different LLM programs. But what I want to focus on now is other aspects of being at the University of Birmingham, and in particular, the extracurricular activities. You'll all know that law is a competitive area, so it's important that students studying at LLM not only have a good academic experience, but they also get involved in extracurricular activities. Those activities will support students to develop the experiences and skills that are transferable and which will be important for their future careers in law or more widely. So at Birmingham, there's lots of different extracurricular activities you can get involved in. We've got over 300 different societies on campus. And those include everything from sports. We've got 56 different sports societies through to different cultural societies, religious societies. Within the law school, we've got the General Law Society, the Women in Law Society, European Law Students Association, South Asian Law Students Network, Black Law Students Network, Commercial Law Society, just to give a few examples, but lots of student law activities you can get involved in as well. What I'm going to focus on, though, is CEPLER, which is our Centre for Employability, Professional, Legal Education and Research, which runs within the law school and offers all of our law students really fantastic opportunities to get involved in extracurricular activities to build up their transferable skills and experiences. CEPLER is a really distinctive feature of University of Birmingham, this distinct separate part of the law school that offers these really high quality extracurricular opportunities to our students. Now, there's lots that CEPLER does, but to break down its activities, first of all, there's an extensive careers program. So every week there'll be different talks, events, workshop, networking activities that you can go to engage with different employers and get the necessary information for further development of your career, both in the UK and internationally. We also have pro bono, where you can get involved in voluntary legal work in the community. We've actually got 30 different pro bono projects at University of Birmingham. Those range from everything to a clinic advising small businesses, through to another advising employees with problems in the workplace, another working with refugees, another project working with those experiencing domestic violence in relation to their legal solutions. So there's a lot that you can do to put into practice what you're learning and also help members of the community who couldn't otherwise access legal advice. Additionally, we have an advocacy program, which is involved in all the different verbal communication aspects of being a lawyer. For example, mooting, a type of mock trial, debating, negotiation, and client interviewing. Really enjoyable competitions and activities you can get involved in both on an internal level and externally within the UK and also internationally. We do compete in a number of international advocacy competitions. Finally, we have a range of different work experience and internship opportunities for students. So there's a lot you can do. And it's really important when you're looking at different LLM programs to be sure that as well as a strong academic provision, you have all these extracurricular activities that you can be involved in that will really help you stand out when you're applying for roles during and after your LLM. Now, John, if I can ask you about extracurricular activities, could you tell us a little more about anything you've been involved in at Birmingham, whether through CEPLER or more generally by way of extracurricular activities?
Yes, sure. For me also, Kepler has been very important part of my life because it helps you see, access, and navigate opportunities if you are willing to take initiative. The university overall provided a very supportive environment where students can build a well-rounded professional skills alongside the LLM. And Kepler basically played a key role in connecting those students to these opportunities. Very practically speaking, through opportunities shared via Kepler, I participated first in an AI evaluation project, which was in collaboration with Oxford University Press. That helped me to develop research skills, problem solving skills, and collaboration skills, and also presentation skills, which was directly relevant to employability skills. And I'm grateful for that. I'm also representing the university in eUnivel Moot Court competition in France, which has certainly strengthened my advocacy skills and legal reasoning skills. In addition, I also secured a legal research assistant opportunity under a professor at Birmingham Law School, which was also a part of reskilling initiative circulated through Kepler. In addition, I'm also involved in the pro bono work, as you mentioned, in collaboration with St. Philip Chambers, right here in Birmingham City Centre, which has given me the direct exposure of working alongside barristers and engaging with real world legal issues. So, all these activities have definitely given me a very holistic career skills advancement. So, overall, Kepler shows that opportunities are very much there. The key is being proactive, being initiative, and of course, university genuinely supports you in building a strong professional legal journey.
Thanks, John. That's really helpful. And you've definitely got involved in a lot over the year. The meeting in France sounds particularly good to be involved with. And I know a lot of the students enjoy the research assistant roles and working with professors as well. Now, we've been talking there about careers and how there's all these extracurricular activities that help support your career development. If I just divert slightly into the world of careers, because we often get questions from students about the careers that are available to you after the LLM. I would say the LLM opens up a wide range of career opportunities, both in the UK and abroad. So, reflecting on what those most commonly would be, first of all, as it's a legal LLM, obviously there are legal opportunities that open up to you. That could be, first of all, improved opportunities in your home country. For example, the UK English law LLM is very valued all over the world, so it certainly can open up better job opportunities for you at home. Equally, many of our LLM graduates do stay in the UK and develop their legal careers here. Students who study in the UK currently qualify for a post-study work visa that would enable you to take on legal roles in the UK after you graduate. Additionally, English law is very well recognised in many other countries across the world. So we do find that some of our LLM graduates go off to work in other countries, which is neither the UK nor where they were from originally. But having an LLM from a top university like Birmingham really does open up global career options in the legal sector. Beyond that, though, I should say that a lot of LLM graduates do go into other careers with a legal link, but not necessarily the legal profession. For example, careers in government or careers in business are very much opened up on a global level with LLM studies. So I'm sure we can come back to talk about careers later on if you've got any questions. But hopefully that just gets us thinking about some of the career benefits that can result from studying a LLM. And actually, John, if I can just ask you a question at this point, what are your career goals from studying the LLM? What do you hope to do subsequently?
After completing my LLM at the university, I plan to pursue a career in international commercial and business law, ideally working with law firms or organizations that deal with cross-border transactions and regulatory matters. In the short term, I'm focusing on gaining practical legal experience through roles like legal research, internships, or traineeship positions to build a strong foundation first in the UK legal environment. I am also exploring the SQE pathway as a route to qualifying as a solicitor. And in the long term, I see myself working in a role that combines the legal expertise with international business strategy, where I can engage with complex global legal issues and contribute meaningfully.
Thanks, thank you. That sounds very exciting. Lots to look forward to in the future then.
Yes.
Now, let's start to talk about some of the practicalities around the LLM program. And first of all, the application process. So, if this sounds good for you, how do you go about applying? And we are still taking applications currently. This is March 2026 when we're doing this session. We are currently taking applications for a few more weeks for September 2026 entry, but you would need to act quickly if you wanted to come this year. Typically, most students will apply in the autumn or the spring period for starting the LLM in the following September. In terms of entry requirements, as I said, generally speaking, you do need to have studied law previously, and we would look for good performance in your degree. Grading systems differ from country to country, but it would be equivalent of a UK 2-1 degree in law, so good performance that we would look for, which is very achievable for good students of the kind that would generally be attracted to Birmingham. If you decide you want to apply, you apply directly through our website, and it's a fairly user-friendly process where you just upload relevant information such as your academic transcript and complete various details, and then it will be considered and an offer made to you relatively quickly within a few weeks, so you can then move on through the process of joining Birmingham if that's what you decide to do. Now, to go into a few practicalities that also come up at this point, accommodation, so thinking about where you actually live. I'd say the majority of LLM students do opt to live on campus, and we offer guaranteed campus accommodation for all of our students joining us for the LLM. It's all on campus within walking distance from where your classes take place. In single rooms, we have no shared rooms, and most of those rooms have their own private bathroom as well. They're very nice facilities, and you can see all of the accommodation information on our website, including the prices, which vary somewhat from between five to £10,000 per year, approximately, depending on the type of room that you go for. But we do have that guaranteed accommodation, or you could make your own arrangements if you prefer to. And John, could I ask you just about your own accommodation experience? What did you opt for when it came to accommodation in Birmingham?
I'm not living in, personally, I'm not living in university accommodation. I am living in city center, and my experience here has been really positive. Living in a private student accommodation has given me definitely a lot of convenience and independence while still being connected to the university campus. The transport links are excellent with buses running frequently, and the train from city center is also reaching the university in just a few minutes. It's just a 7-minute ride from the city center. And the biggest advantages is that the university has its own train station. So it's really easy to commute to the university. Other than that, being based in city center also means easy access to shops, restaurants, and other amenities, which makes day-to-day student life very comfortable. So overall, living in city center has allowed me to enjoy both the campus life and city life, which still having while having a convenient commute to the university. So.
Great to hear. And as I said earlier on, one of the benefits to Birmingham as a city is because of its size, there's a good stock of outside accommodation as well at good prices if you're not looking to live on campus, but either option is available to you. Now let's talk fees. You can see on screen there what our 2026 full fee is for the LLM, which I appreciate fully as a loss of money, and that is a fairly consistent fee for LLM programs at Russell Group universities in the UK. It would be even higher at the London institutions typically. The good news, whilst I'm conscious it's a lot of money for the fees, is that we have very good different scholarship funds available. I'm not going to run through the detail of all the different scholarships that we have, as there's many different ones depending on your own personal circumstances, including, for example, where in the world you're from. There's different scholarships maybe for different nationalities of students. You can see a couple of examples on that slide. Also, we have merit-based scholarships based on academic performance. If you're looking to find out more, if you scan that QR code, it will take you through to relevant information, and you could look on there to see some of the scholarships that you would be available for. Those would be a mix of automatic scholarships and merit-based scholarships. Now, John V, if I can ask you a question. Am I right in recalling that you applied successfully for a scholarship to join Birmingham? Would you mind sharing a bit more information around that and any tips that you would give to students looking to apply and gain a scholarship?
Yes. I'm genuinely, first of all, grateful to the University of Birmingham for the opportunity, and I'm very proud to be part of a community that supports and recognizes students in this way. I think, saying from the experience, I think the most important thing is to, when you apply for a scholarship application, is to focus on your overall academic and practical journey, not just your grades. And scholarships really value how well you can explain how your coursework and internships or research or projects connect with the course that you are applying for at the University of Birmingham, and how it is also connected to your future goals that you plan to pursue. And secondly, I would say in terms of tips, it's important to choose your references very carefully. Strong references usually come from the people who have closely seen your journey in detail. Maybe an internship supervisor who has seen how you apply your legal knowledge in practical scenarios, or whether be it a professor from your bachelor's who has seen your academic coursework in great detail. So, Also, I would say that starting early really helps. It helped me a lot because it gave me a lot of time to reflect on my experiences and present them as a coherent, genuine narrative rather than a list of achievements. So I would say be intentional and genuine about your journey and just apply all the good luck to everybody.
Thanks very much. That's very, very helpful. I think some useful tips there to apply for scholarships. And I would really encourage every student watching to look into the scholarships and see what might be available. I can see my colleague Gemma has just put in the chat that there might be a slight issue with our website at this moment if you try and scan the QR code, but that would be going live soon. So if you haven't been able to access the scholarship information at this moment, do go back online at a future point and have a look. As I said, there's lots of different scholarships, and it's a case of exploring the scholarships, applying for a place, and pursuing the scholarship options, following some of the advice that Janvi helpfully gave us. Now, just moving into the last bit of the information before we go to any questions that you might have, there's some useful links there, and I really would encourage you to explore not just the scholarships, but all of the information online. You can see that there's lots of LLM information on our website. There's also the opportunity to connect with our students and chat with them virtually. You can additionally see our email address there. If you've got any questions as follow-ons from this session, do drop an email to kelpgcoms and the team there will be happy to come back to you. There's a different email address for the online LLM. In a moment, I'll show you some other QR codes that have some information that you can hopefully link through to. But before I get to that, just to say that we are going to move into this last bit of the webinar now by answering any questions that you may have that haven't already been answered. I can see in the Q&A and chat that my colleague Gemma has been keeping very busy answering lots of the questions as we go through. So I think many of the questions have already been dealt with, but there might be one or two that we haven't quite got to. What I would say is, in terms of questions, if you've got anything very individual that might relate only to you, it may be best to follow that up with an email to us afterwards. But in terms of more general questions that could be useful for the whole audience, very, very happy to deal with those now. So if I bring up those last QR codes, and I can see Gareth is back with us, and we'll just see what further questions we might have coming through at this final stage.
I am indeed, and thank you, Paul. Thank you for your time there. And also to Janvi as well. Janvi, can I just invite you back on? I think it's very rare we get to hear from a student who is so active. One of the things that I loved hearing about what you're doing at the moment is, I think it kind of took Paul by surprise almost a little bit, was just how much output there is from yourself, which is fantastic. You know, you've been over to France, you're involved within the city, you come over from India, and you've not just sat here and done the education, you've embraced it. Paul mentioned earlier your plans moving forward, that obviously you wanted to move perhaps into a role, international role, perhaps cross borders. Do you see that role being within the UK, or do you see that role being back at home in India, or for you, does it not matter?
For me, firstly, I want to build a strong foundation in the UK legal market and gain a little strong foundation, especially in the UK market. And then I would love to go and explore a little international cross borders context with international firms working all across the world. So that's how I plan to pursue it. Yes.
Yeah, excellent. And from a, an output point of view, we heard from you talk about your experiences. How important has that been? Was that a plan for you at the start, or was that something that you came over to the UK and you embraced it naturally, or was that always part of the plan to come over to the UK and engage in this?
I have always been wanting to come to UK, especially like before I even joined my bachelor's. And first, I wanted to get a degree in my home country so that I'm well aware of the laws and everything that is there. But a big factor was that UK and India have a similar common law system, and that was a very big factor in choosing UK as a country from very early on. And even the legal system is quite similar, even how the legal interaction, which is there in the court systems and practical scenarios, is quite similar. So that's why I chose a UK as a country from very early on, that while the legal system is same, other than that, it is also efficient in giving me exposure that I need to increase my horizons of the legal market and gain the exposure that I need for my professional legal journey as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Paul, back to you at this stage. The program and the classroom sizes, um, they must make for quite fascinating engagement because Birmingham, for those of you, I mean, Paul's already alluded to it, it's a very international cosmopolitan city with loads of different cultures, nationalities there. It must make for fantastic engagement within the classes. And might I add as well into that the age range as well. You know, this you're not going to get your stereotypical 24-year-old coming out of university. These are perhaps, cultured, experienced people that have been in a job for the last 10 years that want to revisit their education, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things I love about teaching LLM classes. It's very different from teaching undergraduate law. The geographic spread of students is much wider. We have students from many different countries on the LLM, including obviously students from the UK as well, to give that international classroom experience. But as you say, the profile of students is very different. There are fresh graduates, but equally there are students who've been lawyers in different parts of the world for 10 years previously. So it makes for fascinating discussions. And I always find myself when teaching LLM, I learn quite a lot from some of the different perspectives in the room. I learn about different legal systems that I'm not familiar with and different ways that things are done around the world. So for me as well as the students, it's a really great experience being involved in the LLM here at Birmingham.
Yeah, and talk to me, Paul, about the options for students because I think 10 years ago, LLM would have been LLM only. Now there's so many different disciplines off the back of it. When a student doesn't, we've had this question already, when a student doesn't to take that decision to go, right, I want to do commercial law, intellectual property, whatever it might be, can they then look to change that and can they enhance that even further? So if they do spend a year here doing something in international relations program, can they then look to enhance that even further?
Absolutely. I would say a lot of students are very clear which LLM they want to do and where they see themselves going. But equally, there's a good number of students that aren't too sure. So the important thing is to pick an LLM that you think will be interesting, that looks like it's fairly marketable to employers, but then you take it in a direction that you think you want to go in. You might have discovered during your studies areas that you hadn't really thought about that you enjoy, and that can then lead you into different roles, even further study, exploring those areas further. So the LLM is a great starting point to be looking at different areas of law in more depth than you would on an undergraduate degree and building up those skills. But it's really just a starting point, and who knows what comes next.
Okay, and this is a bit more of an admissionsy type question, but there'll be many students in African nations, let's say, that they don't have an English language qualification
Yeah.
proficiency test, but they are in an English speaking country such as Nigeria, let's say.
Yeah.
Are they still required to undertake that proficiency test, or can they show proof of their employment?
The requirements will vary from country to country and depending on what exactly a student has studied, and they're very much set in line with the UK visa requirements that we do have to show English language competency for many students we admit from different countries. And often countries where English is spoken very well, it is a requirement to get the visa. So I would say it's a case of having a look at our website for your specific country. But to give a couple of illustrations, if a student does need to do IELTS, the standard English language proficiency test would be looking at a score of 6.5 overall, with not less than 6.0 in any component. But to give an example of where we can recognise an alternative qualification, we do have quite a lot of students from India joining us for LLM programs. And in those cases, if a student has done standard 12 English and attained certain scores at a particular level, then it's not necessary to do IELTS. And there are similar arrangements for some countries. So I'd say looking on our website, and the detailed information for a student's own country will give a guide as to what the expectations would be. And those will be fairly similar from university to university as they are set with reference to the criteria needed to secure a UK study visa.
Great. And Jean, if I can come to you one last time as well. Well, we've heard about your experience and it sounds a fantastic experience as well. How have you found the city? How have you found living in the city? Because, moving away from India must have been a huge shock for you and totally new. How have you found settling into the city? Have you found other friends perhaps from India or from Asia? Is that something that has been important to you?
Yes, as I said before, the adapting to whole all over UK life has been very positive experience for me, and I found the transition smoother than I expected. I was scared, to be honest, to be in an unfamiliar environment coming from an international background where I did not know what to expect. But I think especially the nature of Birmingham, that it is a diverse and multicultural city, and there are so many different people from all over different backgrounds. So it makes you feel easier to feel at home. So I met all kinds of people. There is a large Indian community that I found near Soho, a town in Birmingham. So a lot of familiar food from my home country as well. Lot of people who welcomed me with warmth. So it was a very positive experience. And in the university itself, there is a lot of Indian societies. There is South Indian societies, North Indian societies with different range of festivals that are celebrated of India. So I was able to enjoy even Diwali.
Yeah.
In the university itself, we were able to apply henna and do all the traditions. So I feel like University of Birmingham really helps you to support and makes you feel welcomed.
Excellent, thank you. Paul, just a final word on you before we wrap up. It's not been asked, but let's talk about the intake dates. Many students will go, what are the timelines? If I want to join in September 26, how soon do I need to get a move on and start applying? What would you suggest?
Yeah, if you want to join in September 2026, you need to be applying within the next few weeks. So before the end of May, bearing in mind that the application has to be processed and there's a need to apply for a visa. So really getting on with the application. I would say for any student looking at future intakes, the applications open up in October. And we would recommend really in most cases applying between October through to March. That's usually our recommended window. But if you're in any doubt, just get in contact with us and we can advise you about the possibility of an application at another time potentially.
Yeah.
But there is a bit of a process to go through, and we want to make sure everyone has time to get organised with things like visas and funding in order to join us smoothly as part of the process.
And that's the key here, communication. Whether it's with Paul, whether it's with Gemma in the background, whether or not it's with Jean-Vi and you wanted to pick her brains and find out more information about what it's like to live and study there, please do. But for now, thank you to both of you. Huge thank you. It's been a great session, really engaging. I'm sure many students in the future over the next few months will really get to enjoy this session and find it really informative. If anyone does have any questions, there are 3 QR codes on the screen now. I haven't checked them to see if they're all definitely working, Paul, but hopefully they are. Visit the Birmingham LLM website. The law school's got a fantastic website. It lists all the programs and courses and the intricacies that go with it. So please head over to there. And if you have any questions relating to our £2,000 bursary that Postgrad Solutions offer, please email webinars@postgradsolutions.com. But any student that has registered and watched this webinar will receive an email, hopefully within the next 48 hours, outlining what the next steps for that application are. But for now, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you again for the next Birmingham webinar, hopefully not too far away. Paul and Janvi, thank you, Gemma in the background, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. Goodbye.